Swazdolasara. I am the Space Pirate Surface. While the Blacklight is running maintenance, I thought, hey, remember how that new Cypher System Whitebook came out? So, yeah, I should have probably talked about this by now. It didn't take this long to talk about the Rust and Redemption Whitebook. Okay, let's get into it, shall we? So, this has been causing a backlog in my videos for some time now, and it's all down to the subject matter, or not to. It's kind of hard to explain. But I shall, so bear with me for a bit. I want to start by giving credit to the people of this book: Sean K. Reynolds, Dominic Dickey, and Shana Germain. Additional design from Monty Cook and Bruce L. Cordell, and the setting designers Eric Campbell and Jody Hauser. And every single person in the credits up right now. You've all done a great job with this book. Now, I want to get that out of the way because I don't want anything I'm about to say seem like I dislike the book. I just don't know how to handle it. And it's entirely my fault, not the fault of the authors. See, the reason this has been causing a backlog is because I don't know how to handle talking about the book. Because to me, it's just Shadowrun. Sort of. Like, it's not actually Shadowrun because you'd still need Neon Rain book for cyberpunk stuff, and that's not out yet, but outside of those themes, it's very Shadowrun in some of its concepts. So to me, there's nothing new in this book that makes me go, oh, well, I never really thought about that before. I've played a bunch of other RPGs, and this book just made me nostalgic for Shadowrun. So trying to figure out, oh, people would want to hear about this or that has been hard. This is all stuff I've known about for decades. Mm. So look, I'm gonna be going over things pretty slapdashy. If you'd like to know more, feel free to leave a comment about a subject or chapter you'd like me to revisit, and I will. But I'm basically just gonna cover what I think would be ideas that more novice RPGers might want to know about. So, finally, here we go. Part 1, Chapter 1, Modern Fantasy, explains the concepts and ideas that this book can facilitate in using for types of games, giving pop culture examples like Buffy and Angel, Supernatural, Charmed, and Good Omens. Chapter 5, Descriptors, gives a list of new descriptors for use in your Cypher games, listing off Chimera, Dragon, Ghost, Hunter, Nyx, Sylph, and Unmagical. For context here, Chimera is all-encompassing term for any half-humanoid, half-creature hybrid. So your centaurs, your minotaurs, your satyrs, your sphinxes, and the like. This adds some interesting new racial descriptors that can add a lot of cool ideas and character options for a lot of games, especially your godforsaken style fantasy games. Chapter 6, Foci and Character Abilities, provides some cool foci ideas, and some I feel work pretty awesomely in a setting like Numenera too. Codes magic apps, conjures bullets, hunts witches, inks spells on skin, is a car wizard, learned from the classics, practices moon magic, steers the coven, transmits energy, and turns decay into growth are some fun ideas on Foci. And some of the new abilities provide new options for players to create new and fun foci for their characters. Chapter 7, Flavors, gives several new flavor types that can be slotted into your Cypher games for some interesting outcomes. These include Charms and Figments, Cozy Magic, Divination, Modern Magic, and Protection flavors. As I said, I can see some of these working well with something like Numenera. Chapter 9, Modern Fantasy Rules and Modules, is one of the bigger points to discuss here, I think. See, usually modules are more designed around the GM side of things, but these ones gear more towards the players as mechanics for enhancing what they might like to do. Cantrips module adds a list of cantrip spells that cost one intellect point and are designed to perform minor, well, cantrip like effects. These aren't going to change the course of the game, but can provide an ambient magical level to a world. For example, one cantrip is called cooking and basically allows the subject to cook food faster without consequences, like burning the food or undercooking it. Covens basically adds a module for creating organizations, really magical or non magical, to any game, which can be really good stuff for a GM, especially one coming from another system who might be set in their ways from certain terrible systems. Crafting magic items is another new module, and while the mechanics for this kind of already exist in Godforsaken, it was kind of expanded out here and hopefully provides more information to new players and GMs who don't quite understand Cypher yet. Uh, Exceeding Cypher limits is a new table module for approaching what happens when a player character exceeds their allotted amount of ciphers that they can carry, and provides not only new ideas for maybe increasing the cipher limit, but also lists of effects that range from mild to amusing to downright what the fuck. I'm just saying, alien abduction I didn't see coming. Good one. Familiars, which I think is going to be the most popular module for players to grab, as this lists normal pets, usual pets, unusual pets, sorry, and the various types of supernatural ways in which these pets can be connected to a player as a familiar. And honestly, the modifying a familiar keeps these pets with the players longer. Lastly, we have reviving artifacts, which goes over some new rules to handle repairing artifacts to bring them back into the game, in case someone's just really unlucky on their depletion rolls. From what I've seen, I think this works out pretty well, and most games would probably see this as useful, either because of an artificer type character or because of an artificer type NPC that player characters go to get items repaired and restored. Part 2, the Axial. This is the setting for the Whitebook, and this is where I see a lot of the things that seem like, well, no shit to me. Like, for example, it explains that magic permeates the world like the ocean tide coming in and going out. This is why eras of history seemed more magical than others, because the magical tide was in during those times. There's a lot here, and I don't want to make it seem like I'm dismissing it, but this is all pretty much standard stuff to me. And I honestly feel like I might be boring people explaining it. But again, this might be because of my background with things like Shadowrun, Angel, Good Omens, and comics like Mandrake the Magician, Doctor Strange, and Zatanna. Part 3, New Grimsby. So this is also kind of a setting too. I feel pretty sure this setting takes place within the axial setting provided earlier, but this one is basically centrally focused around a small town community and presents a lot of vague ideas for a GM to bounce off of, which is good, but I feel like I've also missed some key information about how or if this connects to the axial. Part 4, Adventures. This is the adventure section of the book and is for GMs, obviously. Chapter 18, Home Economics, is a Calvin Park axial adventure. Chapter 19, In the Tower of Time, is another axial present adventure, but not necessarily within the axial. And chapter 20, Too Many Zorps, is a magical party prep adventure. And I'm going to be honest, none of these interest me. They're just not really my kind of adventures. So, nothing against the adventure designers. It's just not for me. But I can see, you know, people of a more modern role playing persuasion being more interested in them. Anyway, that's all for this white book. So, the biggest issue for me with this book was trying to find the angle to cover it because, well, Shadowrun was my first TTRPG, and so trying to figure out what to talk about here was the single most difficult experience I've had covering a white book to date. However, if you're looking to switch to Cypher system and want a medium to high magic level in your game, the modules in this book very much would add to recreating that style and theme in your game. The racial descriptors are also in that same category, especially with the Chimera being able to be any half humanoid, half beast mythological character. Creature, rather. The setting provides an interesting idea, unless you are at all familiar with Shadowrun, and then it comes off as a less corporate dystopia version of Shadowrun, complete with the ebbs and flows of magic being usable in the world. So, my takeaway is this: it's a solid book of interesting stuff, but unless your table needs that info, it's not a required white book. So, I still maintain that the only required white books are Stay Alive and Rust and Redemption, as all others are situationally required. Stay Alive's horror modules can be used in any game to bring up the role playing, and Rust and Redemption's crafting and salvaging tables can be used in a wide variety of games. Well, that's about it. And hey, that killed enough time that Blacklight should be ready to go again. Which is good because being in this space time is like being the guy with the biggest gun. Oh, I'll be back around on Sunday, Terran Standard Time, for Talking Drunk with Game Masters and Gaming with ADHD, with special guest Tien Tori. We're talking about a topic this time, so afraid, be very afraid. And the Grim School put up a new video reading a story from Edgar Allan Poe, so go watch that. Anywho, Nexus, in transmission. We got an empire to hold hostage.